All right, good afternoon, everyone. This ought to be easy for me, right? Because like my whole essay family is back here. But it actually makes me more nervous. So thanks, guys. All right, just wanted to welcome everybody to this afternoon's meeting. To go through the typical reminders, the antitrust guidelines. Please make sure that you abide by that. Hold on just a second, sorry. Typically we start a meeting off with a safety contact, and I know that George Adams, our CEO and president, started the board meeting with his safety contact, and it's been the message that's been delivered in almost every single meeting in some form or another. But the safety, it starts with you. It starts with management, and it all the way down to our line employees. So just encourage you guys to make sure that you're walking the walk and talking the talk, because what you're doing out there makes a lasting impression. So let's see what else here. Sorry. Okay, so I wanted to introduce our speakers today. We have Jessica McKenzie with CBRE. She's a regional senior QHSE manager. If you want more details about her, you can look it up on the ReMA website. And then Shannon Fertitta, she's one of the ReMA staff members now, but she's managing the RIOS program for all of us, and she'll be going over that with you today. So just want to give Jessica an opportunity to come up here and tell you a little bit about herself and kick us off.
All right, thank you. Hey, everyone. Oh, I don't need to actually come up there. Mary, okay, so y'all will find out really quick. I'm super high energy. And Mary, right before I came upstairs, say hi, Mary. There she goes. Mary said, hey, I heard, or it's actually scientifically proven, if you spread your feet arm width apart and you put your hand on your hip and you lift your head up, it gives you a lot of confidence. Anyway, I don't know why I wanted to share that, but anyway, I have confidence. I'm excited to be here with you guys. Thank you for having me. I am an Air Force vet. I work for CBRE. I've been there for 5 years, and I support the West Coast, really in QHSE and all that matters with safety and compliance. Really quick, before I pass it over to Shannon, today is World FM Day. You're like, okay, great. We're here for recycling. And why does that matter? It's a part of FM. Sustainability and recycling initiatives, that all falls under FM. So happy World FM Day. Come join us in the front if you mind. If you don't mind, there's some items up here that you're welcome to take, and then I'll hand it over to Shannon.
Thanks everybody for being here. Everybody should absolutely come to these first 2 rows and get these freebies because they're super great. So I'm Shannon Fertitta. I am the director of RIOS. Many of you might know what that is. It's the Recycling Industry Operating Standard. It's for those who maybe be more familiar with the ISO standards. RIOS is sort of the spirit of ISO 9001, 14001, and 45001, curated specifically for recycling activities. So it was actually created by the great minds of ISRI 20 years ago. They got together and said, the recycling industry needs its own management system. So that is where RIOS was born. Tamara has a little bit of history with the creation and the infancy of RIOS. And as it was growing and evolving over time, it has gotten to be a very strong partner for recycling facilities. Over 300 certified RIOS facilities all over the country, US, Canada, Mexico, got a couple in Pakistan. So we're really growing, lots of initiatives on the upswing for RIOS. But for me personally, I spent 22 years in a electronics recycling facility. So I was managing electronics recycling activities. We were deeply involved in the R2 and RIOS management systems. So, kind of a more systematic background with health and safety and human behaviors around health and safety, but always leaning into those systems to sort of help guide us. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jessica, you have something to share with us today. You want to go into your presentation?
I sure do. Let me grab that.
Thank you.
Of course. All righty. Okay, so before we actually get into the content that I have to share today, I want to just share that what you'll find throughout both myself and Shannon's conversation is that the message is echoed. And she and I realized that as we were preparing today and we're meeting for the first time, and it just goes to show the alignment across safety and compliance and really the approach that we should be taking. So if you're wondering, I think this is very similar, there's a reason for that. We'll get into it. All right, so safety isn't built on hope. It thrives on strength of our actions and the depth of our commitments. So oftentimes I work in SM, right? And so we have accounts all over, and the account leaders, they have to meet their metrics, right? We all manage it by KPIs. We all have KPIs to meet no matter which area of business, what company we work for. And I always tell them, how are you going to make plans? How are you going to get your projects? You think they're hoping for that? No, they're not hoping. They're actually developing a strategy, developing a plan to hit their metrics. So when we say that our actions and our commitment really build our programs, safety is not going to be built on hope. It's going to be built on your actions and your commitment. All right, with that, let's see. All right, probably wondering again, what in the world is happening here? What's going on? Well, Rocky, hopefully we've all seen that movie, and if you haven't, that's okay. I'll kind of just give you a little bit of background. I'm sure we've all seen it. However, I love the soundtrack, right? And Rocky, the message really in that movie is perseverance and striving through and really having a commitment to get to your end goal. But again, perseverance. Safety is about perseverance, integrating our safety goals into our day-to-day operations. And with that, I want to kind of now pivot into culture. One thing I've seen today and yesterday is that there's a culture here of sustainability, recycling initiatives. But how did you get there? Anybody? What built this culture? Who built this culture? Who helped build this culture? Where did it come from? Why do we recycle? Why are we sustainable? The guys that learn the guys that learn the hard way. Someone probably likely saw people learning the hard way, and they wanted to change that message. They wanted to change the culture. They wanted to change our day-to-day lives, right? So culture is, when you think of culture, it's the art and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively. Layman's terms, culture is not learned. I'm sorry. Culture is not inherited, it's learned. It's our beliefs, it's our values, it's what we see. It's watching people walk the walk and talk the talk. George Adams opened his board meeting with that message. Leaders must walk the walk and talk the talk. Culture is watching just that. It's learning. It's not inherited. Go to Jamaica. I love going to Jamaica. And I think, I wonder how they learn to make dumplings. You don't inherit how to make dumplings or how to make jerk chicken. You learn it. It's the same thing with safety. It's the same thing with our operations. It's learned. So what are you teaching your staff? What are you teaching those under you? What are you teaching your leadership? There's a thing called managing up. What are we teaching each other? Okay. With that, talking about teaching, oftentimes people think of safety. I have this funky hair, by the way. I kind of wear a faux hawk. And people think of safety and they say, hey, safety can be boring, or they're going to come in, they're going to audit me, and they're going to get their clipboard or their documents, and they're going to come in and inspect me. And oftentimes, if you don't know somebody, let's say I have a new account. I have about 20 accounts within the West Coast. And if I don't know those staff yet, it's my first time meeting them, you think I'm going to go in and I'm going to have my clipboard or my notebook or whatever that is right away and just start auditing. No, I'm going to build a relationship. You know why? There's a thing called the clipboard effect. And what that is you get a clipboard, kind of like you're going to a therapist. Maybe you go to the doctor. Someone writes something down. You're probably wondering, what are they writing down? What is on that notepad? What's on that clipboard? But if you break down, get them comfortable, get to know them, kind of throw away the clipboard in a sense. You still got to audit. You still got to do what you have to do. Throw away that clipboard. Build a relationship. Then you get into what you have to do. But people naturally think there's kind of this phenomenon around having a clipboard and kind of coming in and auditing. And people think of safety as, oh, here goes this other safety inspection or this audit. Oftentimes, not always. And so I have this idea of throwing away the clipboard, throwing that phenomenon, that idea, that psychology around coming in and looking at this clipboard and going and auditing, because people often think, hey, you're focusing on just documenting. What about the action afterwards? My boss is going to come and tell me all these findings of the things that we didn't do right. Often there's some reduced employee trust and engagement because you're coming in and auditing. I'm not saying not to audit, just the approach on how we do that. All right, so that brings us into really understanding and fostering a mindset and culture of safety. I really focus on the people, the process, and the performance. I'm going to have a seat. So for safety, for me, I really want to focus on a positive safety culture. Really, it hinges on our process. It hinges on our people and then how our people perform. Cultural intelligence is a key to developing a strong safety culture. Knowing your people. Simple. Do you know your people? What motivates them? What discourages them? How to get them to respond to what you're asking them to do? And then based on that, you build your processes. It's okay to take a step back and look at your processes that have been there for 15 years and make them more suitable for your people, for them to understand times are changing. Maybe it's finding innovative solutions such as tech to get your people to do what you need them to do, which is stay safe for themselves, for each other, for compliance, for your company. And then you can measure your performance. Oftentimes we say, okay, well, we have to meet our KPIs. Well, guess what? I measure my performance off of engagement. Because when I have engaged staff that have bought into the processes, because I understand my people, I have a cultural intelligence, doesn't mean I'm always going to meet every single goal. But I can tell you what, my community engagement and the engagement across my staff, my safety culture, it gives me an idea of how we're performing. I have a video that's going to play. There's some background noise here. Let's see. So I went to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park and stayed there. I did the camping, and that was so fun. I went with my kid, and I wasn't quick enough on the draw to get the mama duck, jumping down, but the rest of them followed her. She led them to the water. They were probably scared. We all watched the same video, but they followed her. They trusted her. They didn't think that she was going to steer them wrong. They all jumped over the edge and they all followed her down into the water. And what she did was she led by example. She showed them what to do. She walked the walk and they followed. And that, my friends, is what we have to do, is walk the walk. When it's hard, when it's tiresome, demonstrate your commitment, not just to safety, to operational excellence. And you're wondering, how did we get to operational excellence? I'll tell you. Safety isn't a priority. It's built into everything we do. And if it's not built into your operations, are you really operating with excellence? See, at CBRE, we build safety into what we do. We really lean heavily on operational excellence so that our operators, our maintenance, no matter what level you are, you're leading by example so that the little chicks can follow you. The ducks can follow you into the water. They can follow you to ensure their culture is aligned, that the culture is safe and successful. Establish a safety vision. Define a clear vision for safety. Share that. Let it be known. Don't hold the keys to success to yourself. Share your vision. Share it loud and proud. And then communicate it. Regularly talk about your vision. You don't have to have a 30-minute or a separate meeting for safety. Why? Because who wants to do that? Who wants another meeting? Who wants more time taken from their calendar? Couple it into what you're already doing so that you're not checking the box, but you're leading by example. You're communicating. You're driving your vision. You're getting your employees buy-in. And also consider that people learn in different ways. So when you're working on your communication and your collaboration and getting them to really trust you, that's what it's going to take. Remember, people learn in different ways. Some people learn the hard way, and some people just do it because they know it's right. But people learn in different ways. Keep that in mind as we're rolling out our programs and working to implement our culture and really build a strong, successful safety culture. Okay. Exercise time. Close your eyes for me for a second. This is going to require participation, okay? Close your eyes. Think about your best manager. The best manager that you've had at any point in your career. What made them an exceptional manager for you? Now open your eyes. Feel free to share it out. What made that person that you thought about, what made them a great manager? Yes. They believed in you. VIP Pink over here. What were you thinking? They motivated. What's your name, sir? Craig. Thank you, Craig. They motivated you. Anybody else? They heard you. I saw your hand. What was it? They didn't use a title. Anybody else? They made you feel good, right? They likely made you feel like a person. They didn't use their title. They listened. They motivated you. They were a coach. Maybe someone that they made you feel how you wanted to feel. They encouraged you likely. Those are the same things that we want to do for our people. You remember them because we just did the exercise and that was the first person that came to your mind. I want you to be that person. Not in every way, in the good ways that you remember them. Apply those skills to your staff and your team. And if you've never had a manager or someone that has touched you in a way that you could think of that person when we did this exercise, you be that person for your team. Okay? Because the key to successful leadership is influence, not authority. Kind of goes back to that clipboard. Throw the clipboard away. Clipboard reminds me, I come and I have a clipboard or a piece of paper, and the first thing they see is, here we go again. Here goes safety. Let me figure out what I missed. Or they could just be exceptional, but they're still worried. It's not authority. The clipboard shows a sign of authority. We don't want to flash our titles. We want to make people feel comfortable. A culture is all psychology. If you feel good about doing your job, if you feel safe, if you feel comforted, not coddled, but you feel comforted in your job, you feel safe and protected, welcomed, I guarantee you that others will feel the same. You can share that with others and it'll be exemplified in your day to day. All right. So with that, training. Well, here goes that topic. I think I have about 20 trainings in my learning management system to go do. Are they exciting? No. Do they help? Absolutely. They drive home that message. So although I may not be excited, I'm going to focus and I'm going to get that training done. See that picture, OSHA 10 or OSHA 30, is it worth it? I don't know. What do you think? Who has OSHA 30 or OSHA 10? Anybody? Oh, look at that. Rock stars for OSHA. I love it. That was a long training course. 30 hours. It doesn't seem like that's long, it's not even a full work week, but when you spend it on safety and compliance, boy, it's a lot. But guess what? It's an upskill. At CBRE, what we do is we ensure our staff are upskilled. We train them on our high risk equipment. We give them OSHA 10 and OSHA 30. We want to ensure that our staff perform exceptionally, but they have the skills that they need to support not only our coworkers, our clients, our sites. And they do it exceptionally. So part of our leadership commitment, part of my charge to you, will be a few charges, upskill your team. Even your most successful teammates, upskill them, professionally develop them, keep your training updated, right? Ensure all employees receive adequate training. The worst thing that you can do is have an incident or an injury and you're going through your 5 why and you figure out, oh man, what happened here? Oh, Jessica was in training. Somebody got injured because, well, we didn't perform lotto. Why? Well, I didn't know how to do lotto. I didn't know what kind of tags I needed, or I didn't have the equipment. Train your people. All right. When you're training your people, train them not just on their PPE and not just on how to do their job. You're upskilling them, you're developing them, but train them on understanding risk and how to mitigate it. It's simple. What's our hazard? How do you control it? How do you keep it from happening? Simple. Risk mitigation. If you have those conversations day in and day out, fill out a form. Not saying deviate from your processes that you have within your companies, but have the conversations in those operational meetings. Hey, Jessica. Hey, John. Hey, Matt. What's the hazards here? Can someone get hurt? Okay, what are we doing to fix that? How do we check and confirm? And of course, there's tools and resources that you can implement. I'm sure Shannon will talk about some opportunity with RIOS, and there's quite a bit of opportunity and templates that you can use. But it's simple. Risk mitigation. Prevention. All right. This did not come out very well, and I don't know why, but that is okay because it's simple. Employee involvement and empowerment is key. Involve your employees. Talk about safety. Talk about compliance. Talk about the risk. Leadership often hear, oh, well, it's too much paperwork. I bet you if you involved the other 15 people that worked with you, it wouldn't be so much. If they knew the job, it wouldn't be so much. If they knew all that you had to do and you drilled it down to them, maybe you can check off a few things. And then when you got to the paperwork, you're able to check, this right, that right. Yep, we're good. You know why? Because we have taught our team and trained our team through cultural intelligence and processes how to sustain a safety culture, how to help us ensure our culture is maintained and our compliance is maintained. Involve them. Use suggestion systems. Let me ask y'all, what's some of the best? Anybody had a great safety suggestion that's implemented that you said, man, that could have saved a life or saved me some time? Anybody? It's quiet. What is that? I'm sorry. Repetitiveness. Okay, so you got feedback. Hey, it's too repetitive. Oh, be repetitive. Okay, continue doing the same thing and you can learn it. You can keep, I like that. Anybody else? If you're not getting feedback, then maybe you're not listening. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes. Do you share that? You should. So I love suggestions. And when I say suggestions, not just the suggestions that are clearly suggestions, you also want to focus on those that are complaints. Every complainer, we all have them. Every complaint is a suggestion. Every complaint is probably someone that hasn't been heard for years. Maybe it's the old timer that you're like, okay, come on, John. You said the same thing for 15 years. Well, are you listening to John? Because maybe John is giving you an idea of an accident waiting to happen. Listen to the suggestions. Okay. One of the great things that I love to do is identify safety leads. And this is someone that does not have a background or expertise in safety. It's someone that maybe they don't know safety at all, or they have a passion for it. Similar to me, I didn't know safety when I first started this field before I went into the military, but I had a passion for what I didn't even know was going to be my career. And you teach them through micro sessions and micro learning. And, hey, we're going to have you do a site inspection or an audit. Develop a safety program. I'm sorry, a safety lead. Suggestion. Just a suggestion. Upskill those people. And then what you'll have is a bunch of safety leads in your program across your site, not just run by you or your safety department or your leader, but by everyone, because we are all leaders. Okay. And then last but not least, I would say hazard and peer observation programs. We lean heavily on that, is understanding our trends, our near miss, not just near miss and incidents and injuries, but our trends in our safety observations, unsafe acts, unsafe conditions, and reporting those, whether it's through a intuitive system or but identifying an opportunity to understand what's trending at your site so that you can prevent future injuries and incidents. Employee engagement is key. I like to say that we do a pretty good job at CBRE of engaging our employees, of upskilling them, of getting them involved, because it allows us not to have a safety manager on every account. We got 10 across the country in North America at a regional level. You know why? Because everyone's job is safety. We recognize our staff. We reward them. We celebrate their successes. We recognize their safe behavior. We have safety challenges like hazard photo of the quarter. You know why? Because people love to be recognized. They love to feel good. They love to feel coached and mentored, and they love to, feel like they're getting something. Whether it's safety, it could be compliance, it could be, I don't know, whatever the field is, people love to be recognized. Understand how people like to be recognized, but recognize them. It helps your culture. All right. And my final message, a couple of final slides I have here is just really focused on continuous improvement. Key performance indicators really drive us and drive what we do. But they are just that, an indicator of how we're operating. It's an indicator of our culture. It's an indicator of what we've already done day in, day out, month over month, year over year. It's an indicator of not only our operational excellence and performance, but our culture. If you're not meeting your KPIs, why? The sites that I have a couple of two sites that are currently struggling with compliance. And they're not meeting those KPIs. And those sites that are struggling with compliance, they're also struggling operationally with their operational excellence. Tells me something, right? Inspection and auditing program, I'll just touch on that. We talked about it a little bit already. The inspection and auditing is the end result of what should already be in place. It is the end result saying, hey, now I've come to tell you that you have opportunity for improvement. How can we implement an inspection and auditing program prior to the actual audit? Understanding what's there so that we're not surprised, so that we're not caught off guard. And again, drilling that across our staff. Learning from our past, using suggestions and feedback, and staying informed about best practices. All ways that you can continually improve. And of course, record keeping. It's all great to do all the things that we did. We can have a safety committee, and we can do an audit, and we can come talk to our staff, and we can do all these great things in training and all of that. But if you didn't document it, did it really happen? Nope. We did an audit the other day, and the account said to me, "Oh yeah, we just did that. I have the paperwork." And I said, "Okay, great. Can I see it when you get a chance?" And they couldn't produce it. And I said, "It's okay. We'll get it together. I work for you. I'm here to support you. But if you didn't document it, it didn't happen. So now we got some opportunity for improvement, but we'll get it together." So just remember that as you're doing everything, as you're building your culture, if you didn't document it, it didn't happen. Okay. That's it for me. I'm so happy to have been here. And then I'll pass it over to Shannon. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Please let's give her a huge round of applause. I would like to fold her up and put her in my luggage to take back with me, because I think that she is such an impactful speaker. So thank you so much for your messaging. And as she said earlier, a lot of the messages that she created for you, you're going to hear again in some of my presentation. That overlap is pretty significant, but it should also tell you that it's important. So yeah. So, yep. So here's my few moments that, I'll get started with you. Which button do I press? The green one? Oh, this one. Okay. So, my presentation is going to be more of a systematic approach to a successful and sustainable safety culture. A lot of the messages that Jessica shared, again, you'll kind of feel those a little bit. I do bring more of a small business experience to my presentation today. The systems that I refer to in this presentation, I have used, and I have had great success in using them. And that is why I can proudly say they work. The systems do work, but you have to work them. Okay. All right. So let's talk about it. How does an EHS management system give you the building blocks you need to create a strong culture of safety in your company? That was a mouthful. So EHS management system is environmental health and safety management. Most of us are aware of this concept. Some of us may say, what the heck is that? And that's okay too. But all of us know that we need to figure out a way to bring our staff into sort of one shared idea of safety culture. So just to kind of start from the beginning, a management system is made up of many different components, or building blocks. For the sake of today's discussion, we're going to look at 4 building blocks. And those 4 building blocks are going to be sort of just key things that you need to establish that successful foundation for safety culture. So we're going to talk about building block 1. That's going to be your EHS policy and procedure. So that is going to be the boring part, of course, of what we all need. So your management system, whatever you decide to put into place in your facility, in your recycling company, should provide a clear and concise set of policies that define your company's commitment to safety and your expectation of what your employees' behavior should be. So, you can write this any way that you like. You can tailor this to how big is your company, what activities are taking place in your company, what are the roles within this company, what are the risks within this company. There's a million different things that you need to think about as you're writing these policies, but no 2 companies' set of policies and procedures are ever going to look exactly alike. They can't be copied from another company. You can't go and borrow a handbook from your neighbor who's doing work similar to yours. You can't call up, a friend that does it in another state and borrow his. You have to write them specific to your company. So an important thing that you need to remember is that your company's commitment to safety begins with the very first interview. So when you're starting to think about culture, where does the culture part come in with my employees? When does it start? How does it start? It starts from the very first moment you talk to them. During the interviewing process, when you're interviewing somebody, invite your environmental health and safety compliance people into the conversation. You want them to be, right next to human resources and right next to the hiring manager. You want them to be a part of that initial conversation because you need to be painting a very clear picture of how important workplace safety is. You're going to make that abundantly clear from the very beginning that if you're a part of this company, you are going to be 100% in with safety. It's not negotiable. This is going to be required of every single person that's hired with this company. So, those things are not separate. You're not working and learning certain procedures and then also learning safety on the side. Those things are always combined. Okay. So moving on to building block 2, that is going to be the risk identification and hazard analysis. Jessica talked about this. That is a really key part of a lot of the things happening in recycling facilities. No matter what you do, what activities you're participating in your recycling facility, no matter how big you are, if you've got 5 employees, 10 employees, if you've got 100 employees, if you've got 3 locations, if you've got 100 locations, it is going to be up to you to identify what's happening and where the risks are in those activities. There should be frequent checks in your operations because you can do a risks assessment, today, and then a week from now, it's going to look different. Maybe a month from now, it could look different. Certainly in a year, it's going to look different. The landscape of danger just constantly evolves. New risks appear. So it's very important that you're capturing those. You're always paying attention. And that's also why it's important for you to have a very open line of communication with your staff. Your staff should always feel comfortable in communicating those hazards to you. Are you creating an open and welcoming line of communication to your workers? Do they feel comfortable coming to you and saying, I have identified that, I was in the yard yesterday and it looks like there was a hazard present and I wanted to let you know about it. Do they feel comfortable enough to come to you and do that? Do you open that door for them? It's really important that not only are you capturing risks, but your staff feel comfortable letting you know about them too. And just remember, don't think that because you've never had an incident, never had an accident, that it can't happen, because it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when. Okay, something is going to happen in your facility. So don't let a near miss become a real workplace accident. You don't ever want to have to make that phone call to a person's family. You don't ever want to not be able to send someone home at the end of the day. If all you had to do was do a hazard assessment to capture a potential for a real accident, that could have prevented someone from an injury, from an accident, or worse, from a loss of life. Do everything you can, because that's the one thing that you can't replace is a human life. Okay, so building block 3 is going to be comprehensive training and education. So, you can write your policies, and the policies being written down is a great thing, but those pieces of paper are not going to be any good if Jessica doesn't know what they are and doesn't understand them. And I don't remind her about them constantly, frequently, and I don't communicate changes to her. So it's going to be really important that you develop and implement training programs inside of your facility. And you can use people that work inside your facility. You can use external resources. You can contract people in to do that for you. You can access OSHA. You can use videos. I mean, there's a million different ways that you can create training programs that make sense for your company. You can scale them to how big or small you are, what activities are happening in your facility. Like I said, no two facilities are just alike. But it's very important that you establish some frequency of training and education for your workers. They need to know the risks and hazards, the safety procedures, and the best practices for what they're doing. Safety training should not be one and done. You can't just hire someone, bring them into the facility, go through orientation. Okay, let's go through this safety training. We have to do this. It's just how it is. You go through this training. Okay, you're all set. That can't be it. That's not where it ends. It is a continuous part of your role and your employees' role. So you have to empower your employees to actively participate, and you have to just give them feedback and allow them to give you feedback for improving safety. You can provide them with every piece of equipment, every PPE, every training manual, every video. You can do all those things for them. And then they can still walk away from that and feel like, but I still think we could use something. Listen to them. And that was another message that Jessica said. It's very important that not only are you providing things to your workers and you're listening to them, okay? Because what they have to say is an opportunity. What they have to say to you is an opportunity to build up your programs, to make them better. And then, another thing is you should absolutely encourage them to assemble together and join a safety committee, okay? Inside of the small organization I used to manage, we had a safety committee. The safety committee has power. The safety committee feels empowered. They are ready. They go and grab their checklist every month. They walk through the facility together. They do inspections. It is powerful and it empowers them. And you know what? Every time they'll find something. They'll find something. They'll say, oh, it looks like there's some loose boards here in the floor. Well, we need to, call the contractor and get them to come fix it. It looks like one of our hydrants, the level's starting to be in the red. We need to call the fire extinguisher company. They capture those things. You don't walk around the facility. You can't possibly do that all the time and capture all these things. So empower them to do that. Empower them to take control of their safety. Okay, building block 4. That's the goal setting and the continuous improvement. You see, I was talking about these repetitive messages, and she did hers and I did mine totally separately. Okay, so that these are power. So it's going to be important that, okay, so this is the monitoring and the measurement part of it, right? So you're going to regularly, look at these policies and procedures. You're going to be looking at these risks and hazards. You're going to be looking at your safety trainings. You're going to be constantly evaluating this flow of things you've got going on. And you're going to be looking at the performance. You're going to be identifying areas you should address and implementing corrective actions. Okay. Just if you see it and you identify that it's a problem and you do nothing about it, what's going to happen? Nothing. Something bad is going to happen. So, and then the measurement comes in when you're looking at that data. Okay. So once you have collected the data and the feedback and you've been able to track your progress, well, then guess what? You can then make plans to do better. You can then make plans to set new goals. You could then say, okay, we were able to, successfully turn this around. Now, how can we be even better? I don't know if any of you guys were listening to Jesse Cole when he did his opening. I was so inspired by him, and I hope that you all were too. But the thing that I took away from his speech was, what can we do that's just a little different than everyone else? How can we just bust the status quo? How can we just set ourselves apart just a little bit, just be a little bit better? And I think about that. I think about how your workers can kind of go from sort of safety complacency and sort of thinking that it's kind of a boring thing to kind of thinking it's pretty fun and exciting. Well, there are ways. Again, Jessica touched on this. recognition really goes a long way. It really does go a long way. If your employees are just doing a great job, and, this could be that they were just following the rules. They were just following the rules. They put on their PPE vest. They put on their goggles. They were just doing their job, using their correct PPE, using their guarding, whatever they were doing. If they were following the rules, acknowledge that. When you're walking through the facility, just say, Jane, you are doing a great job today. I just want to say that because she might really need to hear that. Jane might really need to hear that just because she's following the rules, she's doing a great job. Reward them. Rewards go a long way. They really do. They really build up your safety culture. Certificates, guys, they don't cost a thing. They cost a piece of paper. Okay. Plaques are not inexpensive. Gift cards, not very expensive. These are very inexpensive ways for you to really raise the bar for safety culture. Even better, enhanced titles. And I don't even necessarily mean you're giving people raises. Okay. You maybe you don't have the budget to do that, and that's okay. I mean, if you do, that's good too. That's of course wonderful. Even if you don't, even if you can say, Jane, for the last 3 months, we have noticed you've really gone above and beyond with your safety protocols. You've been encouraging others in your workspace to do the same. We want to acknowledge you by calling you the safety captain of the shredding team. I mean, imagine that boost, right? Imagine how good that's going to make Jane feel. And that's going to have that, ripple effect. She's going to go back into her workspace and she is going to be so positive, and that's going to radiate to the others in her team. Okay. Then you are firmly establishing that safety culture. Good document control. And, this is another message that is so, so critical. If you didn't document it, it didn't happen. All of these things we've talked about, those building blocks, writing the policies and procedures, doing the risks analysis, all the great trainings, all the committees, all these things that we're talking about are so powerful, but they don't count for a dime if you don't write them down. If you can't go back and read them and look at them and learn from them and share them with your staff and talk about your positive outcomes or your negative outcomes, you need to share these things. You need to tell these stories to your team. Okay. And then when you have those positive things, even better, because that's when you take it to the next level. That's when you're going through that certification. That's when you want to be transparent. You want to tell that story. Look how good our company is. Look at these outcomes. Okay. So true story. Employees stay where they feel safe and valued. So, this was overheard. I heard a statistic some time ago that employees will typically stay in a job where they feel protected, safe, and well trained. Often, they prefer a strong culture of safety over a large paycheck. At first, I thought, no way. Young people go where the money is. However, in my years of observing employment behaviors at my company and others, I have found this to be completely true. When you create a workplace where your staff feel welcomed, valued, and safe, they are very likely to stay. And this includes not just paying attention to their physical health and well-being and their safety, but their mental health. Ensure that they are in a good headspace and contributing to a healthy social atmosphere among your staff. Allow them time and resources needed to recharge and present the best version of themselves. So I just want to say that the recycling industry, it's not always the cleanest, shiniest, most fun place that you look forward to getting up every day and going to work to do, right? Some days you just aren't feeling it. Some days you just need a rest. Some days you need a break. Your workers too. Your workers need that sometimes. Give them grace. give them that grace to recharge and come back to you. And they will say, thank you for the day. Thank you for giving me that time I needed. Okay. We all have been there. We all have been there. Give your workers grace. Okay. If you believe in them, you know that they're worth it. Okay. And these were just a couple of like bonus slides that if we had a little time, I was going to get to, but for those who kind of needed better definitions of a management system, it's the building blocks. It's kind of all of the different processes and procedures needed to fulfill the objectives of your company. And it's simply say what you do what you say, and prove it. And that's kind of what RIOS is. That's what, what I believe in and what I advocate for. And, obviously management systems are used everywhere. They're used in mega stores, restaurants, auto factories. They depend on those systems. Those systems make them successful. And hopefully you will have them in recycling facilities like yours. If you have any questions about how a management system can work for you, if you have questions, just let me know. I actually have a booth downstairs. I'm outside the main expo hall. You'll see the big RIOS flags out there. And that's where I'll be hanging out. And that's me. So thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious. Wanted you guys to have an opportunity to share with the group. This question's for both of you. But tell us why you chose to get into this field. Why safety? Why EHS? You go.
Okay, so we were just talking about this. I went to college very, very, very young. I started when I was 14, and by the time I actually went to university, I was burnt out. And so I'm at my midterms, and it's my junior year, and I'm tired. I have test anxiety. I walk out. Not the best thing to do, right? But I went straight to the mall, and you're like thinking, the mall? What the heck? There was a recruiting office there.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked into the Air Force recruiting office. And just kind of go back a little bit. I was in school for public relations. I love to chat. Like I'm a chatty Kathy. I love to talk, right? Yeah. So I went to the mall and I said, I didn't do my midterms. I have to have a backup plan. This is it. I want to go to the Air Force. Long story short, they said, okay, take the ASVAB, did really well. And they said, okay, pick your job. And so I read all these descriptions, and I knew, by the way, I wanted to go to graduate school later to go into entertainment law. So I want to talk. I want to do entertainment law. There's kind of some kind of compliance there, right? Thinking about law. So they gave me this list of jobs. I looked at the list of jobs, and I said, ooh, it's that one, bioenvironmental engineering.
Mm.
And in the military, it's a combination of emergency response and industrial hygiene and safety and all these cool jobs. It would be 5 roles in the civilian sector, but that's what I chose. And I chose it just based off kind of the need for structure and compliance and safety, kind of what I would have experienced likely in law. Right. And so, I got out the military and I continued on, and, it's been my career. So that's my story.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, I think that everybody I've ever talked to who I asked this question, I've asked lots of people this question, how did you get into recycling? Nobody ever says, I chose this field. This is what I wanted to do my whole life. Nobody ever says that. It's always, I fell into this. It's always, I was voluntold by my mom to do this or my dad to do this. It's a generational, career. So in my case, I fell into it, and I was in college to be a teacher. And while I was in college, I took a job with this crazy recycler, in Baton Rouge, and I never left. I fell in love with the work that was happening there. It was so unique. And it was so strange, but nobody else was doing it. Nobody in the entire state of Louisiana was doing this. This was the early 2000s. And it was so important. Like, computers were just beginning to really start to bloom. And we were doing such important work, bringing technology to really poor rural areas of the state. We were delivering all this computer equipment I was with a nonprofit, and we were bringing all of this technology to these places that otherwise would not have access to it, because computers were really expensive in the early 2000s. So it was really, really significant work. It was very dear to my heart, and 22 years, it meant the world to me that we did a lot with digital equity. We were doing tons of really significant projects. We earned a lot of awards with Louisiana DEQ. I mean, tons of great stuff was happening there. Recycling is so important. Recycling is so essential, and now that I'm on this side of the industry, not so much just in electronics, now that I'm seeing so many other parts of this amazing country and beyond, and all of the work that every recycler is doing, I feel so justified in that decision. I am so glad that I had that fork in the road. I'm so glad I'm not a teacher right now. Okay.
You are teaching.
Well,
you are teaching.
I was a Girl Scout leader, so that was my teaching experience. But I'm so glad that this is what I chose, and I feel like we are doing such important work. Everybody under this roof is doing incredible work. I'm proud of all of you. So, yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
sure.
For me, it's the people. And I mean, like I said, when I first started here, I mean, my SA recycling family's here with me, and I really appreciate you guys. I was hoping they would just walk by. But it's the people, we work with each other. Sometimes I see you guys daily, others it'll be months, but if something were ever to happen to any of you, it would be devastating.
Yep.
And that's how we feel about our people out in the yard every day. It's about the people. They need to go home to their families every night, not with broken fingers or lacerations or, worse, right?
Yep.
And it transitions it down. Many years ago, we had tried to break into the culture in our company and establish a line of communication.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard to try to get through to people. So we finally just asked them, who are you working safely for? And they would start saying their family members or whatnot. And so we had them put a little name tag on them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was their person that they were working safely for. And then obviously the name that was on there was not their own. So now we have people that are vendors and customers, whatnot, asking what's with the name tag, and they shared that story, and it blossomed from there.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just really appreciate you guys.
I love the message in that, as well as touching on vendors, because our safety culture does not stop with us. Our reach extends to our vendors.
Mm-hmm.
When you operate inefficient and you operate just getting things done, guess what your vendors are going to do? Same thing. Mm-hmm. But when you have them, the signs and the names, your vendors see that and they ask the question, they're going to get that warm, fuzzy feeling too. And if they don't, maybe there's something going on with them. But usually 9 times out of 10, they're going to want to follow that.
Sure.
They're going to feel that same thing. I love that.
Right. Sure
is. Tell me about employee involvement. Why is that important in a safety culture?
So I think Shannon touched on this a great deal, as well as just kind of the more people are involved, the more they know, the more they're integrated into the processes. It's not a leadership effort for safety. It's part of all of our jobs. And so they get to understand the processes. They get to live those. They get to understand the why. Ultimately, the safety committees, and we call them QHSE leads, whether it's just a title. They're not getting extra pay as a QHSE lead, but they really feel like they are involved. Their voices are heard. Mm-hmm. And just listening and their voices being heard means a lot. Yep. Because now they know if they have an idea, maybe that's implemented. You know, they want to get involved and they feel comfortable and confident. Some of those things that we mentioned when we talk about our leadership and what made that person that you thought about, that good manager, what made them a good manager, they feel that warm and fuzzy, that good feeling. So for me, employee involvement, employee engagement is, you know, it's bringing them into my world, but me also getting into theirs. I love, and make sure I don't talk too much. I'm a talker. I love going to work sites and say, hey, account leader, hey, operations lead, great to see you. Brought some donuts for everybody, or I usually bring like granola bars and yogurt, and then they're like, why did you bring this? We wanted burritos and donuts. Yeah. But, hey, I came to hang out with you. Right. We can talk and cover these programmatic items, but I want to go on a work order. There you go. And I want to go hang out, you know, with Maggie. I want to go hang out with John or Jose, and I want to go do the work with them. Yep. I want to see them and build the culture, because it's not just them and us saying, you got to get engaged. Yep. Hey, be our HSE lead, but me actually going to engage with them, because there's different levels of engagement. I want to know you. I want to get connected with you. And for me, engagement is everything. Safety for me is almost like it's a little bit of psychology, a lot of bit of psychology. And then there's the programmatic aspect. But if you know the people, if you know the operations, and if you just understand people, you can better implement your programs. Right. So anyway, sorry, I'll stop, because I'll just keep going and we'll be here all day.
So I would just encourage, you know, everything you said 100%, but I would just encourage that if the members of the audience are in more of an upper level management position, if you're in kind of more of a bird's eye view position and you kind of have a cushy office and you don't spend a lot of time out in the yard with your guys, or you don't go on the road with your drivers, or operate machinery and stuff like that, please schedule at least one day a month to go out and do those things. Spend one day, you know, let your yard guy know, hey, Tuesday is our day together. You know, you guys suit up together. You go out there, you work side by side. Okay. You work together. You build camaraderie. That is so key with culture, guys, is that you will get right alongside them and do the same work. Okay. Because the job that he's doing is just as important as the job you're doing in your office. Okay. The things you're doing in your office are, of course, important. You know, if you're a director, if you're CEO, you know, CFO, whatever you're doing, those things are super important. But the things he's doing, the things those heavy equipment operators are doing, the shredders, those things are just as important. So spend some time, just dedicate some time to be out there with those teams if you can.
You know, Shannon, one thing that I would say is I have amazing business unit directors and operational leaders that I work with. And one of the things that they do is they have skip level meetings. And it could be a skip level site walk. It doesn't have to be a meeting. It could be a skip level, whatever you want to do. And let's say you are at the top. You are that leader that someone's going to, you know, do something with. Have the conversation with your direct reports and ask them to set something up for whoever reports to them with you. Right? They appreciate that. They really want that. They value it. It allows them to be seen and feel heard, and the things that we've been talking about today. It helps build that culture, and it's difficult. We're busy, right? But what's going to happen when an incident happens? Oh, you're going to be even more busy, because you're going to be trying to work backwards to figure out why and what and how to prevent it. And
the stronger culture you build, the better armor you're going to have.
The better armor you have.
Right.
So it's okay to involve them when they identify hazard in helping with the corrective action.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
I think that the more involved they get, the better. I think that one thing that I've experienced some is that there is kind of a fear of reporting something. Sometimes an employee feels like a little timid about it. Maybe they're like, oh, should I bring this to the manager? Oh, I don't know. Oh, the truck's acting a little funny today. You know, there's kind of like this strange fear behind having to go to the big boss and report something. But you really have to be, as the manager, as the person in charge, you have to make them feel welcome. Like you have to kind of open that door for them, and you have to say, look, talk to me, tell me what's happening. let's have this conversation. It's okay. You can come to me with anything. This is for your safety. If you ever have any issues, please come to me. So yeah, it's very important for you to make sure those doors are open. Keep the lines of communication open with your staff.
I think doing that too, it helps them when something is so hazardous or egregious to stop work. Because they understand when hazards are present. They understand there's a relationship and a culture built. And now they can safely put a pause on work and have a conversation with someone else and explain, hey, I don't think this is safe, right? It empowers them to do those things like stop work and raise hazards and have that awareness. And then eventually you get to trend some data. I love data. You get to understand what you're seeing.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So if they bring a hazard to you and they present it and we don't involve them, or that hazard sits there and it's uncorrected, what's that going to do to the culture?
Well, I mean, I can tell you that from a systematic approach, if nothing is done in the department to turn things around, I mean, that's just going to have a terrible domino effect. That's not only going to not really create a correction for things going forward, but it's also not going to change employees' mindset. It's not going to change it in their mind as being this important thing that we all needed to work together as a team to make sure that we've identified it, we've assigned a corrective action to it, and we have a plan in place now so that won't happen again. I think that it's important that they see that you are as a company, committed to continuous improvement.
Absolutely.
That's the culture that you want. You want to constantly evolve and be better. Like Jesse Cole said, we constantly want to think about how we can be just a little better.
Every action sends a message, including the lack of action. So when you have no action, what they see, you don't care. It wasn't important. Something else was more important than addressing that. It sends a clear message, right? And your culture takes a dip.
Yep.
Keep doing that over and over. Oh, what culture? What culture's left other than the culture of complacency?
That's right. Employees need to feel important.
Yep.
Know that they matter.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's why lessons learned are important. If you do like read across, it doesn't have to be a document but sharing lessons learned or opportunities for improvement and what you've done in whatever way that works for your company. Remember to document it. But, whether it's email or a meeting or some way or however you do that, maybe it's a posting, but sharing those lessons learned, what you did, no matter how big or small. Yeah. So really important.
That's right.
Thank you both very much.
Absolutely.
I just we have a few minutes if anybody has any questions for Jessica or Shannon. Come on, guys. Don't be shy.
Well, I have to say, I think that you would probably be a great one to answer this one, Tamara, with your experience at SA.
Oh, gosh. They've all heard it from me.
I want to hear.
So the biggest hazards that we come across are the hazards that we know about and we don't address. Because they repeat. And if it repeats in one yard, it can repeat in many. So it's that whole culture that we've worked so hard to build, in having employee involvement, learning from them, having them part of the involvement in correcting it. And if it doesn't work, we go back and find another way. We don't just let it lie, and we keep that passion. We have great managers in this room from our company, that they live and breathe this all the time. And it just astounds me, some of the stuff that they come up with. Right. But they are actively involving from the line employees all the way up to the top.
Sure.
And they don't stop.
Yeah. I mean, I think that since I've been in my role, and I have talked to many different recyclers in my membership, obviously a broken record that I hear a lot is, there's a lot of fire hazards. There's a lot of batteries that are sneaking into different places that they shouldn't be. My experience was in electronics, and obviously thermal events were a huge, huge problem in electronics sorting and recycling and things like that. So lithium batteries are just a problem. You're going to hear that in many different messages here. So obviously I think these fire mitigation procedures are going to be key. I was in the preventative maintenance session a couple of hours ago, and they were talking about some really innovative heat-seeking, hardware devices that are actually very affordable now. I thought they were super expensive until these guys told me, no, they're actually only $500. Mm-hmm. I said, $200? Oh, even better. So, for just a couple $100, you can equip your facility with plenty of these things, and you can make sure that you're doing a great job with your crews of checking for heat, because that's really what you want to do. You want to find it before it becomes a problem. So, that's the biggest thing that really I've been hearing from a lot of the recyclers in our membership. But the one thing that I know in my years of walking the warehouse that we obviously gave great, importance to is the one thing in the facility that could kill us. And in my warehouse, that was a forklift. So obviously anything connected to the forklift, your visibility, the signals, the lights, the horn, these are all the things that you really have to pay close attention to. But anything in your facility that can kill you, you need to take that very seriously. Treat it with great respect. Okay. If there is any machine in your yard or in your facility that can kill a human, give it its due respect. Okay. Respect it for the fact that it can kill someone, and you need to take very careful precautions and impart that onto your employees that are operating that equipment. That's a big one.
Absolutely.
I'd say for me, it's unrecognized risk. Simple. Whether it's from complacency, because you've been on the job for 40 years and you know the job, you get complacent. Mm-hmm. You walk by the same hazard every day, and before that hazard gets you. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you're an apprentice, or you're so new on the job that you don't know, because you don't even know what risk is there. So simple, unrecognized risk. We talked about all the opportunity to correct that, so I won't touch on it. But if you're going through your site and you're thinking about who's been here the longest, who's brand new, do we have complacency? Do we have unrecognized risk? Tap into those folks.
That's right.
Thank you both very much.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think our time is up. So, again, just Shannon and Jessica, really appreciate your time, your insight. Both, we live and breathed RIOS. Omar, yeah, you're back there. Mm-hmm. And, everything that you had to share this afternoon, sorry. Just really insightful. So thank you both very much. Give them a round.